So in the first of the two different types of ways that we would do social selling, we have the content or the post. So that's the first half that I had already mentioned. And so what we're trying to do here is it's really about starting conversations. That's what we're doing when we're creating content or we're making posts, however we want to think of that. It's starting. This is the stuff, like I mentioned, that's kind of what we think of when we think of social media, is that we go out there to create things and post them, and then we hope people engage with it. We're the ones, that's the origin, we're the publisher. And so that's the first half of this, and that is important. And this is the part where it's going to feel a lot like social media marketing. It doesn't feel much different than that. But this is still an important part of social selling. And if we want to get into more specifics about the types of content you can share. We did an earlier seminar where we talked about the how, now, wow rule, where your content should be informative or be connected to the now, or should give some wow effect and be amazing. So there's the three different types of content that we create. And so that rule still applies here. But with social selling, there is a little bit, again, a bit of difference in that there's different intent, there's different goals. So just a little bit of nuance in how we approach it, because social selling has that different goal. So when we are creating content in the social selling vein, the intent is to create visibility and to work on your reputation. So visibility, I mean, we need people to be aware of us, and we want a lot of people to be aware of us, but especially people who are highly relevant. So this is very targeted. We're wanting our content to be seen by specific people because they could be valuable to us, which should mean that we would be valuable to them, but we just really want to be visible. And to be visible, we would want to be creating content and creating those posts. But the other half is about reputation. So it's not just being visible, but also kind of what mark are you leaving? What are they thinking of you when you're visible? What impression are you leaving? So working on that reputation of who you are. And a big part of who you are is that we probably want to establish credibility. People want to be able to trust you. We often think of kind of this three-step process, and that people have to know you and then like you and then trust you. And that usually has to be in place for especially services. People need to first know you exist, and then they want to actually like you, and then they want to trust that you are a good solution to their problem. So know, like, trust, and establish credibility is that big piece of it, is the trust. So once we have the visibility, that's, they know you, at least they're familiar, they see your stuff. Reputation, we want them to like you, that how they think about you is favorable, and you've left a good reputation. And establish credibility, we want people to trust that you know what you're talking about, that you're an expert. So those three pieces, that's really the intent of when we're creating content here. So again, it's not the ask, it's not the pitch, it's not the call to action, it's not the visit this place, sign up here, here's our offer. This is the intent of social selling posts, is that we want to create visibility and reputation, want to establish credibility. And the third last line here of things that have to be remembered for this to be possible is consistency. There has to be a lot of consistency, or else it's just no kind of critical mass for the above to happen. If we're not consistent and you're just posting once a month or something like that, you just don't get that visibility. People might have seen your content, or they probably didn't, because it's not going to reach everyone, and then it's forgotten about and they forgot you exist. And you just kind of need that constant, so that they know when they log into that platform, oh yeah, I'll probably see a post from this person. So there needs to be a lot of consistency to be able to get the visibility, to be able to work on the reputation. Otherwise they forget, what you said last time, and it doesn't keep building upon each other. And same with the credibility. So just a lot of consistency is really valuable when we're doing the content side of social selling. So we think of two different ways that we can source the content. I already mentioned that in previous seminars. We've talked about the how, now, wow rule, and I will get into another specific idea of type of content you can share. But as, again, big sort of umbrella groups, there's two different ways we can source content. One is that we create it. That should be obvious, and a lot of people think of that. Like, I'll take a photo and then write some words on it. I'll create a graphic, I'll write a blog. You can create content, but we can also curate content. Which means that we're going to take someone else's blog and share it. We're going to take a photo from somewhere else, a graphic. I mean, it's linking back to them. It's sharing their post. It's making sure that we're curating stuff that our audience would find valuable. an expert curator, like truly an expert level curator, where you're finding really the best of what's out there in your area of expertise and your vein of your industry, it's very valuable. Expert curation is very valuable. So don't underestimate the value in just sharing other people's stuff. When we think of the value of curation, think of a lot of, like, even with music, thinking of the fact that if you can go on Spotify, there's millions and millions of songs. And because we have access to everything, playlists are actually very valuable because someone has curated that millions of options down to what suits you for your mood, for that type of music. That's curation, and we value it a lot because we have so much at our disposal. So when we think of all the blogs that are out there and all the YouTube videos and all the articles and all the things that could possibly be out there, an expert curator is actually highly valuable because you've kind of combed through a chunk of it, found the best of it, and are presenting that to your followers so that they don't have to. So expert curation is very, very valuable. And when we find someone who is doing curation that we appreciate, we're like, thank you for just sharing the best of the best, and that you've done that work to find it and comb through, we will follow them and be grateful for that. So don't underestimate the value of curation as well as creation. So then also just to consider that you probably want to use a mix of both. You don't have to be doing 100% creation, or you might not want to do 100% curation, but a bit of a mix of both. So just consider how you can put that into the mix of what you're creating, again, with that intent of the visibility, the building your reputation, and getting people to be confident in you. And then lastly, to think of the fact that some can be branded and some unbranded. So just have a mix of both there as well. So we sometimes, I'm sure we follow people who everything is branded. Everything is about their business, about what they do. Like, here's my blog with my logo, my business name. Everything is about them and their brand. It's kind of nice to have a mix in there where it's unbranded. It's something from someone else's business. It's just a thought they heard and read. Like, it doesn't have to be so heavily branded because that gets a bit exhausting and starts feeling a bit self-promotional. So also have a mix of branded and unbranded. So a mix of creation and curation, and a mix of branded and unbranded. So again, I said I'd give a couple of specific tips of how we would go about this. There's two specific things I want to share that you should consider. And so one is a type of post that I think people shy away from is like a success story type of post. I think people feel a bit uncomfortable sharing success stories and talking about themselves, but I just want to encourage that is a great way to do social selling, is sharing your success stories and sharing your wins and sharing how, if things are going well, sharing those stories. Success stories are great because people are attracted to success. Your followers are attracted to success. People, just like all of us, we want to surround ourselves with success, right? We kind of hope it rubs off on us or something, but we want to surround ourselves with success because that's the kind of environment we want to be in. When we're in an environment that feels successful, then it helps us feel like we're becoming successful. It's very magnetizing. So I just want to encourage that if you have wins, if you have highlights, if you have good things that have happened, that you share success. These are great stories, and write it as a story, not just, yay, sign another client today, but tell a story and make it interesting that people actually might want to read this. So highly encourage success stories, even though it might feel a little bit uncomfortable initially. I just encourage you to try it and put those out there. And it's not braggy. It's not egotistical. People will often resonate with that, and they want to surround themselves with people like that. So they will follow you and engage with your content. It's something people like. Even in this past year, like through COVID, I know that was something I struggled with because a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are having awful years in business, personally struggling. Maybe they have to be at home with kids. Like, there's just so many reasons that it's been a very, very hard year. And so it kind of can feel disrespectful or off color or something to share success stories and saying, like, look how much we've grown, look at how great things have been going. But I think there's definitely still a way to do that very respectfully. And I got a lot of feedback from people when I kind of expressed that that was sort of an uncertain feeling. A lot of people saying, no, like we want to hear that some people are thriving. We want to know that there's still success happening out there and it's not entirely doom and gloom. And so it's actually uplifting and people still want to hear those success stories. So if there are people who are just feeling like that's a slap in the face, I think there's always going to be people who react poorly no matter what you post. But I think the right kind of people are just grateful to have success, and they're going to, again, be magnetized and come toward that, and because they want to be surrounded with it. Another thing that I highly, highly recommend is to protect your following. I would go to the extent of removing followers. So when you look at this screenshot, this top follower is called Grizz Nation. So I like the Memphis Grizzlies as far as an NBA team, and because I've engaged on some content that was related to the Grizzlies, this account followed me. It's a smart tactic on their part. They're like, hey, this person engages with Grizzlies content. If we follow them, they'll probably check out our account and they might follow us. You know, it's good. They found me through the right account. It's a relevant follow as far as them wanting me to follow them. But I don't need them following me, right? Like I know they didn't follow me because they want to see what I post about. They don't care about that. They're just trying to get the follow back, right? So I will remove followers. You can see at the bottom, there's a little remove button, the red button, and I will get rid of them as a follower. I don't want them as a follower. And I will do the same on our Facebook page. If people are, we get a whole bunch of new follows and they're people from all around the world, they're irrelevant to us, they're just spam accounts, bot accounts, whatever, we'll actually remove them as followers. And you could do that on your personal account, because when we talk about social selling, we're usually more talking about a personal account than a page. So on your personal Facebook, even not accepting the connection requests and the follows from people who are irrelevant and just looking to collect as many friends as possible. So highly recommend that. Why, though? I haven't explained the why. The why is that you really just want high quality followers. You don't want a whole bunch of followers. You don't need thousands and thousands of followers. That's not the goal. The goal is to have high quality followers. And the reason is because when I post, I want most of the people who see it to be interested in it, and they like it, they engage with it, they comment on it. And when that happens, the algorithms of Instagram and Facebook and others, they take that as an indication that this is high quality content. Look at this post went out and most of the followers liked it, or they comment on it, or at least they stopped and looked at it. And so those platforms get strong signals that this is great content. And so they will then send it out to reach more and more people. The opposite, if you have a whole bunch of low quality followers, like if I post tomorrow and I have this new Grizzlies follower, they're not going to engage my content. I know that. Like that's not what they're there for. They probably follow thousands and thousands and thousands of people because they're just trying to grow their own following. So I know that when I post, they're already one who's not going to engage. So I don't want people in my following who I know won't engage ever. So get rid of them. Get rid of your following. If they're irrelevant and low quality. So go for lower number of followers, much higher quality followers. And when you do so, your engagement will increase a lot. And because of it, your reach will increase a lot. So just be very careful, protect your followers, remove them where you can. I highly recommend it. Whenever you get that notification that someone wants to be a friend or that someone has followed you, see if it's someone that you want following you, or are they going to bring down your average as far as being able to engage and reach. So just a couple of really specific tips there.